I know, see?
I'm good.
No, it's the Adobe, but it's okay.
We are live.
All right, thank you, Amy. Good afternoon. It is 4:30 p.m., Thursday, January 18th, 2024. This is the first Administration Committee meeting, and the first order of business is to call to order the meeting and acknowledge that the press and the public have been duly notified of this meeting in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act. Second order of business on our agenda is for the election of a chair. And at this time, I'll just accept nominations for the office of chair. Are there any nominations?
I'd like to nominate Elizabeth Campson.
Okay,
Second.
all right. Any other nominations? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, Chair
Turn it
Campson,
over.
do you want to go ahead and take nominations for the office of vice chair?
Sure. I'll go ahead and open the floor for nominations for vice chair.
I'd like to nominate John Bogosian.
I'll second that. So we have a nomination for John Bogosian, vice chair, and a second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, motion carries. John, you're still stuck. Moving on, 3, citizens' comments.
We do not have any, ma'am.
No citizens, no comments. Moving on. Okay, item number 4, approval of previous meetings' minutes. I don't think Ashley and I really have a framework to know whether if they look good to you, John, I'll make a motion to approve them, or you can.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve all the minutes listed there. That seem to be quite a few.
Okay, I'll second that. So we have a motion to approve the minutes as presented and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. Old business, none. Hard to believe. New business, discussion and consideration of upcoming vacancy in the Accommodation Tax Advisory Committee.
Yes, so we have been notified that one of the members of our Accommodation Tax Advisory Committee will be moving off of the island and therefore no longer will be eligible to serve in the committee. The current member that will be leaving is Chas Akers. He serves an at-large position with the committee, and his term will expire on December 31st, 2025. Last year, we had several vacancies. Those have been reappointed. Some folks have been reappointed and new folks have been appointed. So we went through a process of receiving and accepting applications to serve on this board, and we have a couple of options for the committee to consider. We have one current volunteer that went through the process last year, but was not selected to serve or fill one of the positions opening last December. So the committee could consider that position and that application, or we can open it up again for new applications to be accepted by the end of the month. The committee can review them and interview them in February, and then make a recommendation to council, which would require council approval. The next meeting that is scheduled for the Accommodations Tax Advisory Committee is March 12th. And at that meeting, they will be hearing from applicants that are requesting funds from the ATAX grant. So we have a little bit of time between now and March 2nd. I think we would want to have the committee fully formed without any vacancies by that time. But if it's the will of the committee to open it up and consider more applications, certainly there is time to do so.
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't get, neither Ashley nor I really had the opportunity. Well, we weren't participating in that interview.
We can
So
call
I
her.
wouldn't mind maybe calling her back and opening it up and seeing if anybody, assuming she would still be interested, I'm not even sure.
We can ask.
I think there's a fairly short period of time to February 1st, and now it's like 2 weeks, right? I would just say we open it up, and then you reach out and see if Mary's still interested, and if she could make it to the meeting on February 1st for Ashley and is, but to at least interview her. And
Yeah.
then we can make a decision, I think, at that point.
Yeah, we can advertise the opening and that the city's accepting new applications, by tomorrow. Give it a week
Yeah,
for folks to submit an application, and anybody who has, we can ask them to come to that meeting on the 1st.
yep.
Ashley, you think that's a good?
Yeah, I mean, I saw her resume. I mean, she seems like she's very qualified for the job. I think she would be great, but I mean, I certainly don't have any issue with interviewing
Just
her.
talking to her.
So,
Okay, we'll do that.
Sounds good.
Does that timeline make sense?
Sure.
Open it up for a week, and then we'll present any new applications to you all on the 1st.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Moving on to 6B, discussion of policy initiatives and projects for the committee to pursue in 2024. Anyone have any thoughts? I do, but I will wait. Spare
I
everyone.
was looking at you for a reason.
Well, certainly, I think that this, I think this committee has the opportunity to look at various policies, just not those that pertain to to employment or personnel. And so I think there are some policies in our code that certainly, or ordinances within our code that certainly need to be reviewed. I'd suggest we kind of work through those and bring forward any that maybe need some further, either that are outdated or need some refinement to them, and we take a look at those. Especially even how council runs and those kind of things. And we, of course, anything we do here, we have to take to council. But those type of things, I
Yeah.
think we should look at.
So two things that I had in my mind based on what I've heard or conversations I've had with other council members, that I think would be up to the committee to decide to review or not. But one was related to citizens' comments. There's been some questions about whether or not that section of our code would benefit from some changes. The public participation piece, and that was amended a few years ago, but there's been some questions about how it's utilized or if any changes would be agreeable. The other thing that I heard quite a lot of, particularly last year during the last election, was our code allowing political signs in the right-of-way. I don't know if that would be something, and I haven't really thought about it too much, if this would be something that the administration committee would take on, or the public services and facilities committee, but just concerns and about the amount of signs in the right-of-way, and should that timeline of 30 days should be reduced or expanded. I don't know, but I do remember hearing a lot.
Eliminated. I'm just save us all some money.
Heard a lot about that, and whether or not the entire council wants to look into that. I just thought I would mention it as something that
Yeah,
may be of interest to some.
that is
I think
interesting.
there's others that fall kind of within that circle that we
Yeah.
can take a look at too.
Yeah, because that's kind of where I was headed, because you don't, when you, particularly this beach issue that we have right now, you look, you don't really, there's not really a committee that's tasked with looking at our code with any, I don't want to say regularity, because you certainly wouldn't, but, you don't want to be caught like when we hired our police chief and we were woefully out of date with some ordinance, and he, passed a lot of them quickly. I mean, personally, I would just like some mechanism to have kind of an overall review of our code to see if we're current, see if we're keeping up and having the best policies. That's more of an administrative versus administration probably, but it's certainly not personnel, but I don't really see another mechanism to accomplish it. And I think it's kind of important. So.
We had a codification, and it probably has now been 10 years ago,
Yeah.
where we had that recodification, and it was an entire process of an
Yeah.
outside firm, just hiring them, having them go through that. And it's been a long time, and I think it was useful. There were some good changes that came out as a result of that. So probably be time, probably due for
Yeah.
that process again.
I also wouldn't mind, and maybe this is a personnel, it wouldn't really be personnel, but I would like to understand and perhaps document, if it's not already done, some of these flow charts, how we address certain citizen concerns, you know, the administrative contacts, our liaisons in different places, like what our procedure is if somebody's got a ditch that isn't draining, you know, and I know that's probably facilities, but like maybe just kind of a organizational structure for our, you know, what triggers that when we call people or when we don't call people, and I don't know if that's exactly within the purview here too. It seems almost like a job description sort of thing, like looking at who does what to help. Because I know one of the things we're charged with is advancing citizen engagement or figuring out ways to get citizens engaged. And things that I do hear a lot are people aren't really sure, you know, who to call or whether it's the city level or a county level or a state level issue. And I don't know if there's room in 2024 to think about how best to do that. I mean, I would just leave that to y'all if you think that's something that you already have a document and you could think, oh, well, that's, you know, easy enough to dust off, or I don't know.
Yeah, I think that would be a good exercise.
Ashley, you got anything?
Yeah.
We want yoga pant Tuesday. So the first is our next meeting. Is there any other thoughts on policy or
To bring that
for,
meeting-
initiatives or projects or any?
I think certainly we can think about it and then add those to the anything that we come up with to the agenda between now and then. If we
So,
want to bring something specific to that agenda on the first, I know the one thing we'll take care of is the ATAX opening, but if there's anything else we want to put on as new business.
we will be presenting to you all too, in February, the 10-year capital plan. The first draft of the 10-year capital plan, and the admin committee will look at the general government, building, and some of the non-departmental pieces. So that will include that on the agenda as well. So next couple months is gonna be pretty heavy on budget.
Okay. Got it. Anything else in there? Moving on to miscellaneous business. I think we have any other than the next meeting, and I think it took us a while to settle on this day and time, and I don't know if this really is what works best for folks, or we should
I'll leave it.
think about something else.
It's
Ashley, you
February
got
1st,
it, yeah.
I haven't even looked yet. Is that a Thursday?
You might be our most,
So I
Yeah,
guess
we
that- I
spread
guess
thin
what
member.
we're kind of settling on is the first Thursday every month at 4:30? Is that
Correct.
what we're?
Correct.
Yeah.
And if there's nothing, if there's no action item or anything on the agenda, I think,
We don't have to
we
have
don't
a
have to have the meeting.
Right.
But if we do have the meeting, I think for everybody's planning purposes, scheduling it on the first Thursday at 4:30, I think would be, we tried Friday mornings, but I don't think that worked for everybody, so 4:30 on Thursdays works for us. So if it does for you all, we'll plan on that. And we'll auto-populate it on our calendar, and if we have to skip one because there's no business, we can certainly
yeah,
do that.
yeah, it works for me.
Okay?
All right.
Okay.
I guess further, if there's
Yeah,
no further
no further,
business,
yeah.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Okay.
Second.
All right, motion to adjourn in a second. All in favor?